Okay, for those of you who have been following or have been asking for this topic, I'm really excited because today we have Susan McCrossin. And Susan McCrossin is I would say, holistic alternative way to heal dyslexia, ADD, ADHD. We have been waiting for her for a long time, and I'm so glad that the day has finally come where we can talk to her about her technique. It's called the Crossinology Brain Integrated Technology. And that is what we're going to, technique, sorry. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So fasten your seatbelt. It's time to dance and learn together. Here we go.
We love, we fear.
Oh, you know it's time to dance.
We burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. Life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
you. This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who have been tuning in to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show Classroom since 2011, or maybe you just tuned in yesterday for the first time, welcome back. But if this is the first time that you have been told that this is the subject or whatever, for whatever reason, because maybe you follow Susan today and you are just tuning in for the first time, please know we've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, for those of you who are tuning in a little bit later to the classroom, just know that you're always welcome to ask a question. Just type in a Q, ask the question, and we will ask it, especially after the classroom, after the lesson, with all the teachers' pets. If there's any questions left over at the end, we will be able to answer them. As long as there are questions, we'll answer as many as we can. And please keep in mind that if you want to be a part of the live broadcast, you can go to facebook.com/Lillian's Radio Show. Now, today, we're going to talk about a topic that has been dear to my heart for quite some time. I've actually been researching, trying to find someone who can actually help with this topic, which is dyslexia. We're going to be talking about dyslexia today, and a good friend of mine, his name is Bob. This show is dedicated to him because he's the one that said, I want to learn about this. So let me tell you what I've learned about researching dyslexia. It is a learning disorder, according to what I've learned. I'm not an expert. Susan's going to be able to share with us. She's the teacher today. Disorder that involves difficulty reading due to problems identifying speech sounds and learning how to relate to letters and words. Now, we're going to learn a little bit more about that. But approximately 15 to 20% Americans may have dyslexia. So Susan McCrossin, she is an applied physiologist. She also has other certifications that we will talk about later in the broadcast. She began studying the link between learning disabilities and neuropressure and techniques. Subsequently, she developed a therapeutic system known as the Crossinology Brain Integration Technique. Susan will share this revolutionary, non-invasive, drug-free technique, she is speaking my language, that will help eliminate ADD, ADHD, and dyslexia, so that you may have the fullest life possible. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Susan McCrossin is here to do just that. Welcome to the classroom, Susan. Thank you for being our teacher today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. We've been waiting for this moment, actually, for quite some time. Share a little bit about your background and what led to your passion with this technique.
So I grew up in Australia, as most people can probably hear as soon as I open my mouth. Although I did start school in England, so we sort of moved around a fair bit. But I grew up with an undiagnosed learning difficulty and was constantly being told, or, you know, my reports would read, Susan could do much better if she tried harder. When I was trying really hard and, you know, didn't understand why they were even saying it. And if I was given an assignment to do, then I'd usually come in top in the class. But if you sat me for an exam where I had to regurgitate information, then I really struggled. Now, you don't know what other people are doing inside their heads, so you just assume that what you're doing is what everybody does. But what I didn't do was make pictures in my head. And you need to be able to visually image, that's one side of the brain, and store and retrieve it with the other side, to enable to recall, you know, spelling words, times tables, dates, names, formulas that they want you to regurgitate in exams. And I had a couple of compensations, which is why I wasn't identified as a learning difficulty. So I had a very good auditory memory. So I had 2 auditory sounds for every word. So business is how you say it, and bussiness is how you spell it. Friend is how you say it, and fry end is how you spell it. And then my times tables, I calculated them fast in my head, which I kind of still do. You know, 6 sevens, so I'm going 3 sevens, 21, 42. Okay, you know. And so I did really well in math, right? Unless they wanted me to memorize something. So Australia has the British system. After 12 years of school, you have one set of state-run final exams, and that's your high school grade and your university entrance. There's no GPA. I failed ancient Greek history, which has never really held me back in life, but that was a technical fail for high school. And in year 10, we sat for these scholarship tests, which are the little patterns that you follow, which I'm very good at it. So I think I was the only girl in the school, it was an all-girls school, that got one. So they're like, oh, well, you're really smart. But so now we know you're not trying hard enough. And anyway, the careers advisor at school wrote a letter for me, and I was able to get into a technical college. And I passed that, you know, the industrial design, actually, and then sort of went into computing. And I just knew if someone told you something, you know, how to do something in a programming system, this is on mainframes, you wrote it down so you didn't have to go back and keep asking the same question so that until you memorize, you just did it by repetition. So that was basically until I got into this work, I didn't know that I had a learning problem because I wasn't a behavioral problem. Right? If you're a behavioral problem, then everybody notices.
Yes.
Right?
And isn't that true for most women, for most young ladies? They don't have that hyperactivity, so go misdiagnosed a little bit longer than boys.
Yes.
Is that a stereotype or?
No, boys are definitely more active than girls. That's normal. So to expect young boys to sit still in a classroom is not realistic either, right? They're supposed to be the active ones.
Okay. So with that in mind, at what point are you now saying that there's something wrong? Because I know that in you saying what you're saying, I think I have dyslexia too, a form of dyslexia that I have compensated myself for that. And there are certain things that I do a certain way that I don't know if anybody else, I'm not the same way where I think everybody's doing it like me. I think maybe I'm doing it different than everybody because I see people doing it flawlessly. And for me, it takes me a little bit longer, especially multiplication tables. Thank God for calculators. And my son, he was like very, very, very smart, but you put him on a test and put a timer on him. Right. And that's where we got to see that there was an issue there. But prior to that, you have to overcome all the expectations, the disappointments, and everybody judging you as not trying hard enough. So how do you get past that and still keep trying as hard as you can?
Well, it's interesting. Forbes magazine did an article once on 5 top executives: Richard Branson, Charles Schwab, the guy that started Kinko's, and 2 other people that I can't remember now.
Yeah.
And they all said that they were encouraged by their family, that they were never told that they weren't smart, and they were never discouraged in any way, and they just were able to maybe not do so well at school, but they're often able to intuit what's a good deal, or just know things it's an intuitive process that I often can't explain. And we've got 2 sides of our brain. We're born with the creative, emotional, intuitive side, which is called the Gestalt. And at about 5, logic starts to come online from the other side. And if you've got ADHD or dyslexia, the logic is not coming online. So you're not able to control your emotions. You're not able to sit still. You're not able to understand consequences, and you're not able to image the words that you're trying to remember, or the times tables, because one side makes the image, but the other side still isn't retrieved.
Which side does what? Right side, left side?
Well, that's for left-handers, it's reversed. So I prefer to call it Gestalt and logic, because not everybody's got logic in the left, right?
Okay.
So we're born with the Gestalt, the creative, emotional, intuitive side. And, a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old, they don't understand later. They're in the moment. This is now. I'm not getting what I want, so I'm going to do a full tantrum. Wherever I am, I don't care, because I don't understand consequences, and I don't care about what other people think, right? And so you can have that situation. More rare, because they're not a behavioral problem, is what I was, which was all logic and disconnected from my feelings. Right, because logic comes on after the feelings. I shut down because my father was sent away for work when I was 4 for 6 months. So it was abandonment. So a little bit of a problem with relationships until I worked out that there was a pattern in there that men will leave.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, and all of that, and those past traumas, whether you think, oh, 6 months, someone would think, oh, that was just 6 months. It wasn't for the rest of your life. But still, that's traumatic for a little girl.
That's right. So, as I describe it, I fell into personal growth classes when I was about 30, and it all started to come up because they do all these processes with you. And then I realized that I was still hanging on to this story from the past, and it was affecting my relationships in the present. And they also did it was 1 weekend a month, and I think it was Tuesday night for 2 years. And your only excuse not to be there was to be dead, because you're going to start getting sick. You're going to get stomach upsets. You're going to get vomiting attacks when all these emotional issues start to come up. And so one of the weekends we had a man that would go into organizations and help managerial groups. And what his focus was for us was what was our passion in life. Because I'd got to the stage with computing, because I was on mainframe computers. You could put me in front of a customer. I could explain it to them. I'd studied industrial design, so I understood manufacturing processes, so I could go into these big companies and talk their language. And I used to say, if I won the lottery, which means I don't have to work for money, I have no idea what I would do. I don't know what my passion is, right? And because I was at the stage where you want the computer system or not, because I don't really care if you get it or not. But and then so at the end of that weekend, I worked out what I was really passionate about was the consciousness of the planet. And they were clubbing baby seals to death at the time on the television when I used to get home from work, and I'd be yelling at the television. And so that was the clue into what really I was passionate and intense about. And so I wrote down at the end of that weekend that my purpose in life was to affect the consciousness of the planet. I was going to do some sort of personal growth that helped people. And some other aspect now that I'm trying to remember what it was. But within 3 months, I was in Arizona. I'd never heard of kinesiology before. I had no idea that I was going to go and study sort of muscle testing. And but I got a big tax return because they changed some laws in Australia which covered the cost of the class and the airfare and for me to be there 3 months. All fell into place, right?
Did you go back to Australia?
Oh yeah, I've been back. Yeah, although I started this
No,
work
at that time, when you came to Arizona, did you go back to live or did you
Yes.
stay here in the United States?
No, I went back to live because I was never going to live in America.
Boy, check. Okay, so let's talk about dyslexia. Did you get dyslexia because of the 6 months that your dad was gone, or was this something that was in you already?
No, I wasn't dyslexic because I didn't. So dyslexia is often attributed to children by a teacher if they're doing letter number reversals or reversing the word in some way. But it's more complex than that, right?
Okay.
But it's certainly low logic, the dyslexic child. Same with the ADHD child, because the hyperactivity is low logic. Logic enables you to keep your attention over time. But I didn't know that we were developing the work. And so I had a partner, we were doing this in Melbourne in Australia, and we had a child psychologist who heard us give a lecture and said, I don't understand what you do, but what you say makes sense. I'm going to send you, and she worked with learning difficulty children. She said, I'm going to send you my basket cases that I've worked for 2 or more years, and I've had no change. The first boy she sends, he's 15, very bright, but failing everything, setting fire to the lockers at school, flicking, getting the spitballs in the pen and spitting those around the room. He was completely disruptive. They were about to expel him. And we worked on him, and we're still only partly doing the work. So he came on weekends, like on Saturday morning. So it took a few weeks to do it. By the time he went back, I think it was 3 or 4 months later, he was first in his class in English, second in math, captain of the football team, and all the behavioral problems had gone.
Wow.
She said, you didn't just make a change. This is a completely different child to the one that I sent you. So she started sending us kids, and she was assessing them with the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for children, the WISC, which has been around for a long time. And they know that you're not going to change in your ranking of same-age people in your lifetime. And we had them quadrupling and 5 timesing their scores, right?
Okay.
Because it wasn't a check of their IQ. It was all the instructions are given verbally, so they assume good auditory integration. All the tasks are visual, they assume good visual integration, and they're timed, right? So if you don't process quickly, then you're going to fail them. And then you talk to the kid, and they're obviously bright. The vast majority of people that I see have got a high IQ, but they never thought that this is a disconnect here. Smart kid, not doing well on this test. Something's not right there, right? So, that was the first huge, big jump. And then later I went to university and proved it.
And the rest is history, as they say. But I do want to talk about the technique that you have been teaching practitioners all over the world. Now, do you teach somebody, like once you do this therapy or this technique, are they done? Like,
Yes.
they're done? And
they're done.
I know I can't say the word cure, but they're basically
free of symptoms.
Free of symptoms. There you go. I was wondering. Okay, so are you looking for a checklist with dyslexia, for example, or a checklist with AD? Okay, so let's talk about the checklist for dyslexia, because I might be checking some of these too.
So there's a checklist. It's actually on my website as well.
Okay.
It's things like, so the dyslexia is still the Gestalt dominant person. They're going to be well in touch with their feelings. Either group's going to have difficulty spelling because you need both sides, or difficulty with the times tables, keeping attention over time while you're sitting still. That's going to be hard, right? Every now and then I get a teacher who's thinking outside of the box, and she lets them maybe move a little bit or be on a ball, the large ball with it. But others are just rigid in the way they approach, teaching, and makes me think they're in the wrong job, actually.
Yeah.
But right. But so that's that. So the what I was, which was logic and no Gestalt. So I'm analytical. Yeah, I've shut down emotionally, so I'm not going to have a temper tantrum, right? So I'm not noticed because I'm not a behavioural problem. So I would never have got a label, until I got that year 10. What do we call it? I sat for that year 10 test. Nobody had any idea that I think I rank in the top 3% of population for Mensa tests and things, because they're
Wow.
not asking me to memorize something. But now I can memorize, right? So when I was 30, I went back and did a double degree in neuroscience and psychology, and graduated equal top student in neuroscience. I
Very
can
good.
see the page in the book now. I can write it out. You don't need to be smart to do this. You need visual memory to do this.
Okay, so I'm sure everybody wants to know what needs to be done. Is there any preparation, nutrition? What do you do as far as getting your client or patient prepared?
Well, they don't have to do anything. It's up to them. I would say one of the hardest things in the world you could do in America is get people to give up a food that they like. You know,
Say what? They do what?
to give up a food that they like.
Oh
If
yeah.
you tell them it's bad for them, they want it all the more.
Yes.
You know, with the obesity problems here, and you know, I mean, one of the best outlines I've seen for if you want to have a healthy diet is I follow the blood type diet book, and that
Okay.
has changed my life. It's just
Very good.
any digestive problems have gone. I'm more flexible because acidity was going into the muscles, and yeah, it's an amazing. It's quite
Someone gave
amazing.
me that blood type book a long time ago, and I turned to the page one time, and as I started changing the way I ate and
Yeah.
learning about things that I was allergic to, and it pretty much fit in my blood type. It was interesting that I would come back
Yes.
to it and look at it and go, yeah, maybe there is something to this. Anyway, so if someone, so you're training practitioners from all over the world,
Yep.
and you can go to susanmccrossin.com, right? To
McCrossin.
McCrossin, I'm sorry, McCrossin.com. And of course, if you are
No. Well, no. If you go to crossinology.com.
Crossinology. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry about
Yeah.
that. I didn't write
That's
it
okay.
down, but it's linked on my page. I've got it here. So Crossinology. But if you are a subscriber, all you have to do is click on the blog, because then you have it. So I'm just saying. Okay, so some people come to you. You're still helping individuals
Yes.
with this technique. So let's talk about what the expectation is and what happens after the treatment.
Okay. So they typically, many of them come from out of town. So they come for 2 days. It takes about 8 hours on average to work on them. And depending on the age, I'll give them breaks. You know, I mean, an adult can lie still for 2 to 3 hours in the morning. Then you have lunch, and then we do the afternoon, and then I finish them the next morning. But the children change quite quickly from being wriggly, and I have lots of toys that they can play with lying on their back. They change quite quickly. Within an hour or two, they have starting. Sometimes they fall asleep. The parents say, "Oh my God, can you teach me how to do that?" Like, well, it's not going to happen every time, but when I start to take the stress out, the body goes, "Oh, thank you."
So what is it that,
Goes
what
into
is the
sleep.
stress? What is it that you're doing? And I
So
know you have a show and tell.
Yep. So I've got my little pig here, right?
Yes.
So I'm using muscle testing. So muscle testing is used by some chiropractors, right? It's been around for a long time. There's Touch for Health muscle testing. This is a very gentle type of muscle testing. And the reason that muscle testing can tell you anything is because the muscles are controlled by the subconscious mind, right? So I'm sitting in a chair now like you are. You've got muscles in various states of contraction. You're not thinking about that. You're just sitting, right? While you're doing other things, because the body knows what to do. So it's a method of touching points on the body, which can be acupressure points, no needles, because every time I say acupressure, people hear needles. Acupressure points or modes on the hand. These are mudras out of the Indian yogic system. So there's a way of holding points and modes to ask the body how active a particular component is. Whether someone's got a back problem and I'm just checking their lower back muscles, or whether I want to go into the brain and I want to see how active the corpus callosum is, which joins the right and left hemisphere together. Mine was 0. I had no activity.
Can we test ourselves to find out if we have?
No, it takes training. It takes training, right? But if we take the little pig and we take both of his forearms, I would actually have to put a couple of modes on. I'll put that into my circuitry by
What are modes?
These are these points that I hold on the hand.
Okay.
These are mudras in the Indian
Mudras.
yogic system,
And
right?
and
So
let's go back to the very beginning. This is information that was out there that you combined together, right?
not in that, they was, yes, these points have been around for a long, the yogic system, I don't know how many thousand years that's been around, but they didn't use it in this way. And the acupuncture points have been around for a long time, right? But if you combine them, you can ask very specific questions of what's going on energetically in the body or even physically in the body. But we're looking at energy mostly, how active the right and left sides are, and the connection between them is absolutely critical.
Okay.
To do well in the education system, both sides fully open and talking to each other.
Can people have past trauma control that? Maybe it's not ADHD, maybe it's not dyslexia or ADD, but maybe a past trauma.
Yes, it could be, but it will have shut down part of the brain as a coping mechanism. And that's why I shut down half my emotional side, so that I didn't have to look at the feelings of being abandoned by my father.
Interesting.
That's the child's perspective, right? I mean, of course he had to go. It was for work. He was sent to IBM Poughkeepsie because he was working for a big insurance company in Sydney, and they were installing the first IBM computers, and he had to go over for some sort of training, right? Poor dad. I mean, I had a great dad, right? So looking back, it's just a 4-year-old's perception of the world.
Of course.
It's not reality, right?
Of course. And that's why it's so important that we look at everything. Leave no stone unturned, because something as simple, who would have thought, daddy's coming back in 4 months or 6 months or whatever. Right. But in a mind of a child, we don't know. Child is now. And
now and not now. Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just going to ask lots of questions.
That's okay. So we want to look at how well you're accessing all the different components in the brain. So there's a lot of steps to go through to make sure that things in the limbic system, for instance, limbic and the amygdala has got to do with survival. Mm-hmm. And you can have stuff stored down there that you have no memory of, right? And it's there and it's interfering. Now, if you've had parents that have been abusive, or, there's just an endless amount of things that can be really stressful to someone. And you could take a handful of people all the same age and stress them all in the same way, and not all of them react badly. Some of them it's nothing to, others have maybe mild, and others are severely traumatized, right? So our perception and how we receive it is also a factor. But by far the commonest I see, because they're a behavioral problem, is low logic, high gestalt. And I've had some kid that I don't know how anybody survived just having some of the children that I've seen. I had a 14-year-old girl who wouldn't lie on the table, just sat on the couch with her mother. I'd seen her brothers, who were relatively easy to work with. And she just burst into tears. And I'm like, well, come on, do you want to get on the table? No, it hurts, right? And I'm like, well, what about I just muscle test you? No. Well, how about I just hold your head? So I don't have to muscle test her to know that these early circuits that I'm going to look at are all off. So I start working, and by the time I'm on the third one, so I'm testing her little muscles, and then I hold that energy imbalance, if you like, in my circuitry, and then I put fingers on the, he hasn't got a proper head.
You can show it on, why don't you show it on your own?
Here, it's either side above the eyes, right? And at the back at the base of the skull.
Okay.
And then I wait for a pulse. And these early circuits can take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because it's almost like the brain's going, huh? What? You're talking to me? What? And it takes a while to get what I want. But by the third time I'd done a head hold, which now we're probably a half an hour in, she stopped crying and she just says, I hate that I'm like this. And that was a 1-hour session. She comes back the next time. She's fine on the table. I'd worked on the brothers earlier. They all come back later. Well, the brothers come back for a follow-up. And I said, how's your sister? They go, oh, my God, she's a completely different person. All that drama has gone, right? He said, we've been working around on eggshells her whole life, right? So, yeah, she didn't like it either, but she couldn't control it because of the miswiring in her head, right?
So
and that's really what it is.
Is that what you're calling, did she have dyslexia?
That's what it is.
Or what did she have?
Well, she was ADHD as far as just hyper, right? I mean, just emotional wreck.
Now, how does it work for the dyslexic mind? How does it?
It's the same. It's the same. It's the same pattern in the brain. But I get a lot of kids, and the teacher has decided that they're dyslexic, right? So you'll get labeled as dyslexic if you reverse letters and numbers or get them the wrong way around. As far as I'm concerned, it's a visual integration problem. But dyslexia is the fancy go-to word of the last couple of decades. And then it sounds like a real, something that's, I think when you label something, you almost are saying it's not fixable, that we need to give it a drug or something. So that
yeah, I agree.
They stop, yeah. so they're, their biggest problem is that they're not a nuisance in class or whatever.
Yeah.
And then every now and then I'll hear something creative that a teacher does or something, and that can help, sometimes. It was one of the funniest stories I ever heard was from a man whose buddy, when he first went to school, he had a male teacher, and it was his first grade, and the teacher's got all the desks and that, and he's got a whole lot of toys at the back of the room, and he said, okay, now up the front here, we're going to be doing important stuff, and at the back, we've got a whole lot of toys. If you want to do important stuff, then you sit up the front. But if you just want to play with the toys, that's okay, you can go and do that. But you have to be quiet if you're playing with the toys. And they buddy straight to the toys, right? And sort of, they're playing with the toys, they get loud, and the teacher goes, excuse me, we're doing important things up here. And stop, you have to be quiet. And just slowly, kids start to come up to do the important stuff. And by the end of the week, he has everybody willingly sitting at a desk and working.
Wow.
Right? I thought that was one of the cleverest things.
Women
tend to coddle more. Oh, come on, honey. Come on, which I personally find icky. But, it's just a different approach. And I just thought it was really clever.
Very good. Very good. Those are just different things. But when you're doing this technology or this therapy.
Technique. Yep.
Yes. You're seeing results right away, and they're permanent.
Yes. Well, you'd have to have a head. If you had a head injury, this would be another, but that would be a different thing. It wouldn't be emotionally caused.
But in order for you to do this, is it dyslexia, ADD, ADHD? There's different forms of dyslexia. You talked about numbers, letters. I've got little Rosie Sunshine saying that she has problems recalling information, timelines, anything to do with times. She's saying, am I trying to write a story at the moment? I am trying to write a story at the moment about my work. I find this so difficult to get the wording out of my head and down on paper. Any tips on this? Great question.
So she's also having trouble organizing the thoughts?
I think so. I think that's what she said. Yes.
So she's low logic. Because logic's what analyzes and sets things out in a formula, structures and things that are the same. Now, writing is not a logic process because it's more creative, and so it's going to be in the other side, but you need some logic to be able to organize it. Mm-hmm. And so she's lower in the logic side.
So what are some of the tips that you can give her to be able to work within her parameters?
So I would say if you wrote sections, so like got a different piece of paper for the different sections that you wanted to do and write them in the order that they just come out, you can then organize them back into the order that makes sense, right? So she's going to come up with an idea, she puts that down, but then she does 2 or more ideas, and then she thinks of something that should come sooner, and she writes that down, and she can able to. And actually, when I was doing my thesis and writing all sorts of papers at university, that's how I work. And not because I have a loading problem, just because you get an idea and, okay, let's go there. That's a method that you can use that at least, retains the thoughts and gets the order right.
Now, I also heard a long time ago that if people have issues with transposing or I actually have a cousin who's dyslexic, and he has studied the mind as well. He's an orthomolecular biologist, and he was saying that dyslexics see through and back around, and that's why things look backwards to them or backwards to us, because they're seeing through the word or the letter and back again. And someone had shared that if you use pink paper, that somehow that helps. Can you, are there any other tips for people who have dyslexia?
So I had one thought, and then I went to the second thought with the question. So he's talked about saying, so I would call that switching. So you can have a situation where right thinks it's left and left thinks it's right. So instead of the left brain, let's say logic in this case, is doing one job, and the Gestalt is doing something else, and together you're doing the reading process, but they're switched. So logic thinks it's Gestalt, and Gestalt thinks it's logic. So it's going to the wrong location, being shunted across, back again, and then out instead of in and out. And if the connection between the two sides is not active enough, then you're going to lose information all the time. But it will seem like it's reversed, right? So when I hear that, I know they've got what I call switching, and it's there all the time. And you can have right-left switching, which is that tendency of what your friend's saying. You can have top-bottom switching, and those people tend to get stuck in an emotion and can't pull themselves out of it. Or they'll get stuck in their analytical brain and not be able to get access to their emotions. But those people don't come and see me. They're like corporate executives, that sort of stuff. And then there's front-back switching, where you get left in the past. So top, bottom, front, back, and left, right. And so it will confuse the data that's going in and coming out. It'll turn it around the other way, and so you'll see things not how other people see them. And that's part of what his problem is.
So I had mentioned the pink paper.
And the pink paper. So there's colored lenses that you can get, and you can just, it's not pink for everybody, but there's a whole lot of different shades of foil type paper, and you can put on, and that really helps to a lot of people for them to focus better on the word. So somehow the light that's coming into the eye, which goes into the retina, is getting interpreted in a way that makes it easier. If some of them it's yellow, but what I have observed is it works for a few months, and then you need to change the color. You don't really want to. You don't want to buy the glasses with the color in them, because then that's more expensive. You can just go and get that film stuff from any art supply, and you do it yourself. Work out which one.
So it's a film that you put it on top of it. You can put it on top of books if you want to read it. So, and it's different colors. So what are the colors? Yellow, pink. What else?
A whole range of the spectrum, but you need to see what works for you. You go in with a book, or and you put the pieces of paper, the plastic, the foils, and see what makes it clear or stop jumping. That's it. Sometimes it seems like it's jumping on the page.
Yeah. So Rosie says that she uses yellow paper, and that she's going to try. And as a writer, I just dump everything on. I just dump my whatever is in me, just dump it out. And it was a great tip that Sue Patton-Tholey shared with me. She's an author of 15 books. She said, spew and then review. Just let it go, spew it out, and then review. Organize it, do whatever as it makes, or have somebody else edit for you. Yeah. Right.
That's what I would say. So that's why I had the different pieces of paper, because I'd have another thought, and then I'd just go to another paper, and that was how it was easier then to organize. Yeah.
Very
but
good.
that is the creative process, I think.
Yeah. Any other tips that people, because we're going to go back to coming to see you as a possibility, but any other tips that you give people who are just trying to cope?
Well, if they don't, they usually come to me because they want to see me.
Yes.
But let me think about.
But someone who can't see you right now, because I know that there are practitioners all over the world, and if you go to her website, you will see.
Just in America, really.
Oh, just America?
In Australia, yeah.
Okay. So I was looking at some. I know that there's one in Boca in Florida, because I immediately looked at Florida.
Yeah. And there's some in Canada.
And
in Montreal. Yeah.
Yes. And so there's they're all over, and so it's good for you to go to the website, and of course I'm just going to say that if I were to say to you that you would have this information if you were a subscriber, my question is, have you subscribed yet? Have you subscribed to whenyouneedafriend.com? This is where we take 100% responsibility for our life. It's so easy to blame people. We could say, well, the reason I feel this way is because you made me this way. But the reality is that gives away our power. How do we take our power back? we take it back by going at whenyouneedafriend.com. While you're there, check out all the social media, the icons, like, subscribe, follow, share. And then there's also my YouTube channel. You can subscribe, share it as well. So many different ways that we can stay connected and learn about our teachers in the classroom. Also, as you know, if I didn't have people that were standing next to this belief that we are enough, that we can create what it is that we want, any disability, you can manage it by even just shifting your thoughts. And so these are wonderful sponsors that we've had, and I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, click on the sponsors page, and look at all the sponsors that are taking a stand with the Lillian McDermott radio show / classroom. And they're saying, mainstream media is not bringing this information, so we are going to stand beside you. Sponsors like Liberty Health Share, you can go to libertyhealthshare.org, Keep Me Safe Organics, because trust me, if some of the toxic chemicals that we put on our skin can cause some of these issues with attention deficit disorder, as well as not feeling good, because you're putting these chemicals right through the largest organ in your skin. So check out Keep Me Safe Organics beauty products and get 10% off by entering Lily10, your entire purchase. First Alternative Care, that's giving you entire household 24/7 medical, non-urgent care, family practice, dermatology, and 3 hours a year of behavioral health counseling for $45 for the entire household. Check them out. Also, Dr. Stephen Grable, who's integrative, complementary, it's called Complementary Care Center. He's integrative, functional, and holistic, and he's in Jacksonville. Check him out, and as well as the pharmacy in Merritt Island, and give 20% off your entire purchase the first time you go there if you tell them Lily sent you. And Live Longer Medical is matching the inside to your outside, and so that's livelongermedical.com. These are all sponsors that have taken a stand, and I encourage you to support them the way they're supporting the classroom. Finally, you too can support the classroom by becoming an enrolled student. So whether it's $5 or $1,000 bajillion dollars, you too can help out and be a sponsor. So that this information continues to grow. Let's grow together and figure out ways that we can do that. So today we're talking about dyslexia, ADD, ADHD, and a different way that you can do eliminate your symptoms. So it sounds too good to be true, Susan. It does sound too good to be true. And why isn't everybody doing this with you?
Yeah, it's a good question. Every now and then I'll get a father say, well, if this is so good, how come you're not famous and multimillionaire? Yeah. I'm like, I have no idea, but it does take a long time to make a paradigm shift. When the first doctor noticed that when he washed his hands, the infection rate went down. You know how long that took to be standard medical practice?
Oh, yeah.
80 years.
Wow.
Right? Because they couldn't see, they didn't have the microscopes to see bacteria. They still believed in miasms, that it was coming through the air. But one of the things I was just thinking when you said if they can help themselves is if you're really stressed about something, you can either sit in a chair and do it, or you can lie down in the bed, put one hand at the base of your skull. Mm-hmm. So that's where it's called the occiput. And another hand across the forehead, completely across. And this arm, if you're lying on the bed, you can put a pillow under there or something, and just breathe.
Does it matter which arm is forward?
No. Just the one that's forward.
Can you use a ball in the back, like a tennis ball?
No, it has to be your hands. Your hands are the ones that the energy is running through. Tennis balls don't produce energy.
Hey, just asking. Okay, so you're
going to, if you do this a few times, you're going to notice after a few minutes you start to feel a pulse, and you might sigh. So you've got the thought of something stressing you, and you might do a sigh, and then when the pulse comes, you have to practice it a little bit to be able to feel it. But it could take 5 or 10 minutes, And then you think about the thought again and think, no, that doesn't seem so bad now. Because you're taking the charge out of it and re-engaging the frontal part of the brain, while the back part is, that's back and deep is where all our made-up stories of the past are.
Interesting.
Right? Because you can take a handful of people and give them all the same experience. Some are going to be traumatized for life. Others couldn't care less, and the others are somewhere in between.
Isn't that true? Isn't that true? So if we were to do, you say you take your fist?
No, flat hand.
No, in the back.
Yeah, in the back, flat hand.
Oh, flat hand.
Yeah, really simple.
Okay.
Flat here, lie down. That's it.
Okay.
Right?
And do you breathe through your diaphragm? Do you?
No, none of that.
None of that. We just don't breathe at all. Nobody breathe.
Yeah, no breathing, and then your problem's completely gone.
Well, you'll pass out and the problem comes back.
But you might feel a sigh come, or just you might feel something just release a bit. But that helps you get you back into the frontal lobes again. It doesn't take your learning difficulty away.
Until
you be past.
Until you feel your pulse.
Then that's going to take a little while, but it might be just a sigh. It's like, and then you think about the problem and you think, it's not really there like it was.
Yes.
So I get some remarkable change, especially so once you're integrated and you've got all parts of your brain working, then I go through a whole list. And it's about 80 steps to integrate someone and get rid of the ADD, ADHD, or dyslexia. And then there's a whole list of things like your parents and spouses, siblings, school, teachers, mathematics. I got a list of things, and then we always add more if we want to. And I had quite an interesting experience when I first came here. My office receptionist in Boulder, in Colorado, she had a friend that she went to school with, and he I'm not sure how it happened, but his parents were somehow back on the East Coast, and he hadn't seen them for 10 years, and he didn't like them because they disrespected him and blah, blah, blah. There was this whole story about it, right? And he was probably mid-20s, I guess. And I said, well, just humor me, lie on the table here. And I got him to think of all the things, and I can stack a whole package of things into a circuit. And then I do the head hold. And I said, now let's see what happens. And he doesn't think that anything's going to change. He goes back, then comes back to see us and goes, oh my God, they were completely different. They were really nice. They respected me. And because it's often our perception, and he's putting that energy out and they're pushing back with the same kind. So only one person has to change in a dynamic. Right? You understand that? Right?
No,
so
without a doubt.
Person,
if you want to change the world, start with yourself.
Change yourself.
Exactly. Start with yourself. I have people come to me because they want to save the world. And I'm like, okay, let's start with you. Because when you change your perspective, it's amazing how the world changes.
Yes, that's right.
When you have this blockage, because you're doing a clearing somewhat, right?
Yeah.
The process, the Crossinology integrative process that you do.
Yeah, well, that's the 80 steps. Yes, it's not just one simple thing.
Yes, yeah. No. It's a process that takes 8 hours.
Yep.
When you're doing that, can you help somebody, if somebody has ADD, ADHD, or dyslexia, could it cause them to see the world in a distorted way?
Yeah, distorted way. Yes, that's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens.
And so if you have somebody that may not have been diagnosed with dyslexia or learning disability or whatever, would this process help them integrate? Let's say they have post-trauma and they don't want to deal with it.
Yes, for sure.
So who else can benefit from this?
So I'll give you an example, actually, of a boy that I saw, it's a few years ago now, maybe 5 years ago. And he was in Boulder, and he finished high school. That's when I saw him. And he went up to the University of Colorado in Fort Collins. And I think he was in his second year, and his best friend dies in a car accident. So the university puts him on red alert, but nobody actually talks to him. So I'm not sure if that's like wearing a tag on your back or something, because they didn't do anything. And so his mother says, and of course he's a boy, right? His mother says, do you want to go and have therapy or something? And he said, no, I want to go see Susan McCrossin, because I'd integrated him, right? And so he comes, and I think it took about an hour. He said, I know that my friend would want me to keep studying, but I can't get my mind off what happened to him. So I just did about an hour's work, sort of every aspect of the friend and the fact that he wasn't here anymore. And he was fine. It was still sad, but it wasn't overlaying everything that he was doing, right? So he could still study. And he went off and finished his degree. So that's a circumstance. Yeah, he is integrated, but you had a trauma happen, right? And or you might see someone who's in their 60s and they got raped or something when they were 15. You can get rid of all the emotional trauma from it.
So this is more than ADHD and ADD. It's because
it's other trauma. Yes.
Yes, that's good, because, you know, that trauma goes into our healing centers and we're not able
into the body.
Yes.
Creates disease.
Absolutely. And we, you know, we want to heal the body, and we're like
That's
experts of wanting to heal the body. But Dr. Lee Cowden, who is a regular guest in the classroom, a regular teacher, he says, healing the body could become very costly if you first don't heal the spirit and the mind. Once you heal the spirit, that the body will inexpensively heal.
Yes. I would agree completely.
Yeah. And so we are constantly trying to figure out how we can improve the body, without thinking about how we can mend our spirit as well. And so that is, I'm glad that you mentioned that story. Now, have you ever not been able to help somebody? Has there ever been someone that you think they were resistant or?
No. I've had them want me to help them give up smoking, but they're not prepared to stop smoking the cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't control what they put in their mouth. But yeah, it's certainly true that it's really important to look at your issues and resolve them in whatever way you know is available to you. And then, and probably, you know, look at what you put in your body too. Because this country has got some of the worst eating habits that I've ever seen. You know, I've lived in 5 countries around the world, and this is without doubt, not in this immediate area where I am, but in other parts of the US, it's just incredible what people eat.
Any other tips, Susan, that you can give us and that will allow us to kind of reconnect our body and kind of be like a, what do you call it? A self-cleaning oven? Where
meditation.
Meditation. Okay. So let's talk about other things.
So let me tell you about meditation, because I can do it. I can tell you from personal experience. So when I went back to university in my early 30s, I was seeing an Australian guy who did Chinese medicine. My neck was tight, right, and everything from writing and doing all these papers. I did a double degree. And he just said to me one day, you know, if you don't get control of your mind, you're going to be coming to me for forever. Because too much thinking makes the neck tight, right? And it'll just never go away. And he said, I want you to get this CD and this book, and I want you to meditate for half an hour every day. And so he sent me to this ashram, and I didn't know anything, right? I just said, okay, that sounds like a good idea. I bought a book called the Guru Gita, which is a very old Indian chant. It goes for 40 minutes.
Wow.
Right? So I'm listening at it. So what happens, though, as you're chanting is it entrains the brain into a 14 megahertz pattern, which is a relaxation pattern. So that then when and you're chanting gobbledygook, so, it's in Sanskrit, so you don't really understand it. So by the time you've done that for 40 minutes and then you go quiet to meditate, it's much easier, right? And so, as an example, at the end of my second year, so I did this for 2 years, never missed a day doing it.
Wow.
So in my second year, one of my neuroscience subjects, I hadn't read the textbook, and I was going to do it in the week you have off before the exams start. And my husband's back goes out on him, and I'm bed washing him and feeding him and stuff. And it's the second day, and I don't get to open a book till lunchtime. So I'm meditating, and this Indian woman comes to me in the meditation and says, don't worry, you'll know what will be on the exam. And I'm like, okay, because you're in this really deep meditative state. So I come out of the meditation. I thought, forget the textbook. I will just go to the university library and get all the old exam papers out, and there was about 5 of them. I answered all those, drove to the exam early so there wasn't a panic about being late. The last thing I looked at was the answers to a paper given 5 years earlier. And when I went in, that was the paper, unchanged. I got the top mark.
Wow.
Right? And I thought, okay, the other thing that happened is my time to do assignments went down and my grades went up because I was so much better focused, right? Made a huge change in my life. I'm much quieter in the mind in general. You can get insights into all sorts of things if you can just shut your mind up for a while. So we know things that are beyond ourselves, right? And it's hard in the West because people are so busy and too busy doing this, and now they're on their phones. You know, there's just like a fifth arm or something, a fifth appendage. You know, that going internally and just being quiet, and the mind's going to wander. That's why the chanting helps. Because if you just try to sit down and be quiet, the mind's all over the place like a mad dog. Because our Western minds are overactive. But that's one of the things you can really do to change yourself and to get insight.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to continue with some more tips. I know that you guys have some questions, and I've asked everybody to type in a Q before you ask your questions for my live students, my teacher's pets, who stay after class to learn more from our teacher. But I just want to say thank you so much, because we need to say goodbye to our podcast people. But whether you're on podcast, YouTube, or wherever you're listening from at whenyouneedafriend.com, you're welcome to join us live at Lillian's radio show in facebook.com/Lillian's radio show, and grow with us and be able to ask live questions. So Susan, thank you so much for being a part of today's classroom. We haven't I know we have not even dipped a toe, because next time I would like to have somebody like a show and tell type of thing, other than a little piggy. Because that little piggy needs to go to the market.
That's right. So, and of course, I have a book that explains what's going on in the brain. It's a thin book. It's got lots of pictures. It's written for people.
How do we get your book, Susan?
It's on the website.
Okay. So we get this book. Is it a free, or
it's not a how-to. It explains. It's not free because it cost me money to make them, but it's cheap. I can't remember how much it is exactly, but. With diagrams and easy explanations, you'll get an understanding of what's going on. And as you read it, you'll go, oh, that's me, right? This
and
symptom,
that's the first step. The first step is the awareness that is you. And once you are aware and that mindset, and you're willing to figure out what to do, then life becomes easier and bearable, because you realize that there is a purpose. So thank you for giving this purpose. And we're going to continue afterwards with all the teachers' pets asking you questions, Susan. So thank you so much for being on the show and the classroom and being the teacher. Please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you, wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general education purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, so now that we have gone through the formalities of this, I know that there's people that have questions, and for some reason, I am not able to see the questions. So I'm going to click here to see if that'll give me a better view. Hold on. And I will get to all your questions, I promise. For some reason, it's not. It's not doing that. Hold on a second. We're a little. Okay, so let me see all the questions that we have here. Let me reduce the size. Yep, I'll reduce the size and maybe that'll help me see it. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's see. Little Rosie Sunshine, so nice to have you on today. So besides putting on your hands on your, okay, so you asked for other tips. Any other tips, Susan?
I think that's about it. I mean, I mean, if you've got a learning difficulty, you shouldn't be doing anything that stimulates the brain, right? I mean, you shouldn't, obviously you shouldn't be doing drugs or anything, but...
yes, of course. What do you think about people that take Ritalin for ADHD and...
Well, it helps some people, but that doesn't get rid of the problem, right? It's just kind of masking the symptoms. So, I see kids that are on $800 worth of medication a month, right? So,
and they get rid of it after.
Yes. Yeah, you have to come off slowly though. With a lot of those things.
What is the cost to have this 8-hour process?
I charge $2,500.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have other practitioners around the country that people just charge, whatever they think for their area.
Okay.
And
so
if
you think about it, if you're paying $800 a month for medication, that'll pay for itself in a very short period of time.
And plus the impact of your future income. If you can't learn easily, it's going to impact what kind of job you can get, and it affects your whole life in lots of ways.
Yes. And so, have you ever had someone that needed more than 8 hours?
Only if they've got another problem as well. So they might have a back problem. I mean, I'm actually quite good at turning muscles on. I used to have a lower back problem, and in the training I took in Arizona, I came off a horse at a flat gallop and knocked myself unconscious for the afternoon.
Yikes.
My dad grew up in the country, so there was no blood, so they didn't even take me to the hospital. Apparently my number was not up that day. Mm-hmm. But so I had a back problem from then until I went to Arizona, and then he showed this method of turning the back muscles on. Oh my God. So that'll come up sometimes if they've got some other problem, and I might work on that. But as far as the learning stuff is concerned, it's 8 hours typically.
Wow. I'm interested to try this myself, because seriously,
it's amazing.
It's amazing. It sounds like we don't know what we don't know. Right. We think that what we're thinking, what we're feeling is what, maybe we think we're unique and nobody else feels this way. But then we find out that we're very similar to people that suffer from dyslexia. How do you, there are emotions that are tied to that diagnosis. Mm-hmm. How do you suggest that people release the stigma, the fears, whatever it is that, people had, labeled you? How do you release that label so that you can take the next step?
Okay. So this head hold thing, if you want to do something specific, I'll teach you a little bit of the basis of the kinesiology I do.
Okay.
Lie on the bed so you can be comfortable, right?
Okay.
Think of the stressful thing and separate the legs. So your feet are apart.
Feet?
Are apart.
Okay.
Right? Now that's going to...
So you're going like this. Your feet are like this. You're laying down and you go like this.
That's right. So the proprioceptors in the joints fire when you do that. And you can be lying on the bed with your eyes closed, not feeling any of your muscles, but you know where all your limbs are, because the proprioceptors continue to fire. So in effect, you're putting the negative thing that you thought into the proprioceptors so you can hold it electrically while you hold the head.
So you're holding the head.
Yes, and you don't move.
You said
your legs.
you bring one arm up.
Well,
right?
You can just put a pillow under there, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
If one side starts to ache, or two pillows, get yourself comfortable.
And then with that, do your legs, and that gives you a different...
Yeah, the legs first, and then with the thought, the negative thought, when you put the legs apart, and then do this for 10 minutes. If you did a few of those, you're going to start to feel a pulse coming.
Mm-hmm.
When you
and do you leave the legs apart, or do you bring them in and out?
As soon as you get a pulse, then you can put the legs together and have the thought again.
I want to come visit you. I want to come visit you in
dissipated. It'll have dissipated. It's beautiful here.
Yes.
I moved out of Boulder. I'm on 4 acres. I got 3 horses, a couple of dogs, fabulous mountain views. It's fabulous.
And stuffed piggy. And a stuffed pig.
And the stuffed pig, yes.
Yes. Well, this has been great. Okay, so like I mentioned, when you are a subscriber to whenyouneedafriend.com, when you subscribe, the blog that you get has everybody, all the teachers, information. So you click on their name, it takes you right to their website. But if you need, it's crossinology.com. Crossinology.com is the website. And it's Susan McCrossin, and she is, when I was first challenged to look into dyslexia, it was very difficult to find somebody that would treat somebody holistically, or that says that we have some results that are. So what are other ways that people deal with dyslexia?
Well, one of the things that, there's the marching, there's Touch for Health, that sort of thing. I went through the whole program and nothing. I was perfectly coordinated, and they never detected that anything was wrong with me, and I had half my brain off. I was too functional to show up in the testing. And we approached Paul Dennison, who started the educational kinesiology, at a conference in Zurich, and he told us we were too neurological. And we're like, how could you be too neurological if you're working with the brain? And just sort of gave up. Yeah, we were happy to share it. I mean, so, but if it's not done correctly, you're not going to get any result. It needs to. So I've trained people who haven't become certified. And I just had an email from a lady about her child and the emotional subconscious stuff. And then she'd been seeing someone who has not been certified, but she knew her, and who hasn't taken the advanced classes. So it doesn't, and when people get certified, I make them submit 10 case studies so I can see they're doing it correctly and give them feedback if they're not. So I don't know what this woman did, the one that took the training. And now this other woman who went to her is asking me questions. I said, it's really hard for me to answer because I don't know what she's doing. So, it can be tricky in that way. So I would say if anyone's thinking of going to someone, go to someone who's on the website. And I've got a list of practitioners.
Yes, there is. And and it's a very easy to go through website as well. And so thank you so much, Susan, for your input and your information. If you can't go to Boulder, Colorado, there are practitioners all over the nation that you can go to. Yep. And are there any practitioners in Australia?
There's one.
And what about England? What about England?
No, I was just in England, and I saw a lady while I was there because I've got a cousin there. And so I actually saw this woman who was, there's a few of them where they mull about coming over and taking the training. It would be great if they did.
Yeah.
So I have an excuse to go there even. Well, I told her to get 10 people together, I'll go and teach it.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Right.
So there you go. If you want Susan to come to your town, get 10 people, training. We're going to talk about this. So this would be a great experience for all of us to think outside the box. Thank you so much for going through what you've gone through. And I think that when you think of the 4th step of responsibility, and I have a page on my whenyouneedafriend.com that is the responsibility page. It's 100%. And there are 4 questions that you ask to go from victim to empowered, from giving away your power to taking back your life. And these 4 little questions, step number 4 is when you go through, the first question is, how did I create it? Second one is, what are the gifts and lessons? The third question is, what's going to be different? And the 4th question, taking responsibility. And by the way, when you answer these questions, there can't be any blame, shame, fault, or duty. It is what it is.
That's right. That's right.
And when you get to that 4th question is, how can I use this? Whatever this is, whatever I learned, whatever was hard, whatever was, the most disempowering that you felt at that time, how can I use it for the greater good? That is the 4th. That's when you have arrived at responsibility. So Susan, thank you so much for being part of the classroom today. And I hope that this is not our last conversation.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yes. So thank you all. Thank you for watching, all of you that have stuck. I mean, we've got still so many people. I've asked for if anybody has any questions, but let me scroll down real quick to see if there are any questions that I haven't answered. Okay. Yeah. And if somebody finds an exam stressful, techniques would be to put your hand on your
lie on the bed, Think about exam. I used to have diarrhea attacks before exams.
Really?
That's how I know what exam anxiety is, right?
Yeah.
I'd be like 3 times in the toilet and just hoping I could sit for 3 hours in an exam and not need to go. But now I actually find them fun because I don't have a learning problem anymore, and I know I'm going to get a good grade, right? And I do, right?
And so you go through
I just lie on the bed, think about the exams, open the legs, hold the head, 10 minutes or so, right?
and
then
your legs
see how you
open.
feel. Yes, you are holding the circuit. You put them together, you've lost it.
Okay. And your legs are above
Apart.
the bed. Above the bed?
on the bed.
Oh,
God,
I'm like doing a plank. I'm doing a plank.
You're making it much harder, right? You lie on the bed and put the legs apart.
Well,
It's
I'm
easy.
like doing a plank. I'm doing a reverse plank on mine. I just make everything more complicated. It's part of my dyslexia. What can I say?
I was going to say, this is the lady who thinks it has to be hard.
That's the lie in the middle of my belief. There you go. Okay, so you just open the legs. That's more simple. Okay, review one more time. You think the thought, you open your legs, and
hold your head.
And you hold your head, and you just feel the pulse. And once you feel
lie
the pulse,
lie there for 10 minutes. And it's probably, no, the thought's in the legs. Doesn't matter what you're thinking.
Okay.
Right? You can be thinking about what you're having for dinner. It doesn't matter.
You know what? It's so funny. It's so funny. I just want to make it complicated. It's very simple, right? It is simple. And I want all of you to try it and email me at lily@whenyounneedafriend.com or send me a link or a post, or if you have if you have been a recipient of this technique, I would love for you to share your story, because this would be great to have that testimonial as well, because it's
well, I got a lot on the website and videos of people saying the change, right? As an adopted boy, I mean, you'll get teary when you listen to people's stories.
Oh, before I met you, before I spoke to you, when I said reach out to her, I had seen all your testimonials, and I thought, this is something different. I haven't tried it. Full disclosure, I don't, I haven't experienced. Usually, I experience it myself, and then I do this. Right. But I haven't. I haven't experienced it, but I've seen testimonials of people that have. So, everybody has to do their own due diligence. Just because I say it doesn't mean it's true. You take this, and if it resonates with you, great. Check it out, see if it works, and live the life that you want. And I think that even with dyslexia, ADHD, and ADD, there is hope. And so thank you so much for bringing this hope. So thank you so much.
My dream is that everybody reaches their potential.
And that is our goal as well. So thank you, everybody, for being a part of the class today. And may you always find a way to reach your potential. And so we will see each other soon. So I'm going to say goodbye. Say goodbye, Susan.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.